We have champions lined up to talk about these. I'm just going to go alphabetical. Jason, do you want to start us off with city balance sheet?
We can. So as far as city balance sheet, the group has decided to concentrate on the golf course and a business plan for the golf course. The goal being to create a sustainable plan for that asset. And that would include anything golf related or otherwise that would take that resource, not only that land resource, but the recreational resource, and develop it. As you may know, we went over it previously. As far as the city goes, that project is in our parking lot as far as our priorities. We're not actively working on that from a city aspect, other than what we would normally do on a year-to-year basis with small projects and budget planning, et cetera. There's no large developmental projects or anything in the current. We've got 12 active projects we're working on, and this just didn't make the cut on that list. There was other things that were higher priorities. So the understanding I have is, as we looked at it as a group, we thought it was a way to elevate that, get another set of resources working on it, and basically tee the projects, potential projects up for the golf course. Now, Chuck, you may want to clarify here. There's been some discussion about a Shark Tank version of looking for developers and whatnot. You can clarify exactly what that vision is that the group has or you have for that, Chuck. And then additionally, we would look for developmental opportunities, funding opportunities for capital projects, et cetera.
Since this group is going, there might be a possibility to work. Okay, there might be a possibility to work with developers as a plan evolves. So the thinking was to bring in developers from the first part and have them involved in the process, people with proven success rates in developing outdoor recreation venues, event venues, and recreational like golf and things like that. So our concept is the team will create a business plan. The community involvement section is we will also invite the community to come in with their best plans. And we will do it in a Shark Tank kind of pursuit where the plans get pitched, the developers give feedback, they score, we get the benefit of their knowledge to figure out which might be the most successful candidates, as well as hopefully entice their interest in assisting. And I love the community component of this, as well as getting developers on the ground floor. And I believe the other part that Jason's referring to is early last week, we got notification that money was coming down to PennDOT, and it could include road resurfacing. So of course the city jumped right on that. Jason got figures for how much it would cost. Ashley and Blue Zones came in, and we started to pursue that. It ended up that after the money arrived, Pennsylvania voted to put the money to existing projects rather than start new. However, they invited us to vet our projects with them. So essentially, we're going to sell our end of it as, okay, here are the trails we're going to do on the roads, but we need to fix the roads before we put the trails down. So the idea would be to work to see links like that and try to cultivate revenue. So roads obviously are a deferred maintenance item. So if we could bring in $1 million or so, that could do, it could give a feeling that progress is being made and we're doing it. Jason, I want to verify this. I think we've had this conversation, but we're costing it out at using subcontractors so it doesn't fall to city staff to do the physical work.
Yeah, city staff pave streets.
Any questions? When do you want to take city center?
We've been working on everything from the lighting to the trash cans, to the cigarette containers, to, signage, benches, placement of trees, tree grates to protect the trees. We have had conversations about connectivity, where the buildings, which buildings might suit that best, as well as a workspace, a shared workspace. And we've also, Chuck has asked each of us as champions to write down why we became involved and how we can encourage the community to take part in this and see Corey develop. So I think I may have missed something, but go ahead.
You got most of it.
We talked about the rail, the park, and
So did you mention this when you were doing that listing of the downtown properties? Okay.
yes. Oh, that's right. I
Yeah.
didn't. Yeah.
No, go ahead.
Go ahead. Oh.
So we have, we started at the corner of South and Center. And we went all the way down to, like, right by where the high-end building is, Park and Center. And we just started a big inventory list of what all of our properties are. Ground level, and then if they have a second, third level, who owns them, what they're being used for right now. Are they empty in the second and third floor? Most of them are. The hope is to have just sort of like a master list that we can refer to, because we're all kind of networking during the day and talking to different people. And if somebody's like, hey, I have somebody that's looking to come in and set up in the downtown, they really would like first, second, third floor, or they'd like second, third. Are there bathroom hookups on the second floor? Is there an outside entrance to the second floor? All those kind of things that we would have at our fingertips to share with any potential person looking to invest in Corey, and then, keep updating it as there's changes. So all of us champions have divided, oh gosh, I don't even know how many properties, and some of them, like the Hammonds own several buildings, and there's some that own a handful. So it makes it a little easier, but we're all splitting them up and meeting with them and talking to them about what's there. And so I know I'm still working on mine. But yeah, it's going to be a cool thing to have for sure.
And with that, the goal also is, as we begin to attract developers, as we go back to Bruce Katz, we will know each of these properties, what its assets are, what it looks like, and what it might cost to bring it up, so we can offer incentives for people to move into them. And because of one of our champions, we actually had an early conversation with one developer. We're building that relationship, but honestly, that's the first thing he asked are, what properties do you have? How much? Where are they? So it was endorsement that this is a good pathway forward. And then switching topics, Rail Trail Park is under City Center. And I have some news from late last night that I have. I was meeting with Thomas Eddington with CZB, our planners, and Thomas said he wants to stay on with us in a volunteer capacity and help us finish the planning and implementation of the park. And he thinks he has an idea that could get us a national award for the park. So we'll bring it into the meeting and talk about it. But even if we decide not to take him up on it, I thought it was a lovely gesture.
Yeah.
Questions on City Center? Bill, do you want to take connectivity?
Sure, Chuck. Good morning, everyone. Just to give you a brief update on our group, we're meeting every Tuesday evening at about 5:30. Our phase one, which was to the creation of the mobile hotspot network in downtown, is completed through some funding that we received. Our phase two, which moves on to the fiber connectivity across homes and businesses within the city, is about a 1/3 funded. We were able to purchase the fiber and the hardware through a Erie County Block Grant, which were mandated to be used for connectivity improvements. We also have some funding through the NAP tax credits to install the first 10 miles of fiber. And that includes preparing for phase 3, which is to extend the connectivity throughout the school district area. We're working on a number of items, one being a promotional video regarding our group and what we're trying to do and why fiber connectivity is important. We're looking at investigating additional grants, one through the USDA on connectivity, one through the National Telecommunications on implementation funding. Wendy kind of touched base on it. One of our big projects is finding a housing or a hub downtown for the head of the fiber and where that's going to be located. One of the things that was brought to our attention is that area, wherever we house it, could eventually become a commodity because organizations would want to be located near the hub. So we're trying to discuss what those potential options are and where it would be best to offer, the center, but also have the ability to open it up for maybe some additional people that would be interested in locating into that area. Chuck has had some meetings with Thomas Mott, who is a valuable partner. He works through Youngsville Television. He's brought some great expertise to us. We're looking at the timeline for the installation of the fiber, the layout of the planned installation. We've been playing with the map of the city center and kind of a phased development of section A, B, C, and D and E and so forth. That was really the last couple meetings we've shrunk it down. I think originally we had all the way up to phase H or I, and now we're down to phase A, B, C, D, and E. We're looking at potential concept of running some of the fiber through the storm sewers compared to the installation on telephone poles. It may be more cost effective, but we have to flush that idea out a little bit more, determining how that would work and then where it would come out and connect into the buildings. We've had a lot of discussion about co-op provider model versus a third-party provider model, and the group seems pretty, at least at this point, interested in moving into a co-op provider model. It provides us a little more oversight and control, but also provides us an opportunity to deliver some connectivity outside of at a better rate for our community than compared to going through a third-party provider. And already, just with us starting to get off the ground with this, we're already being approached by some innovators about some other ideas that are being brought forth about using the fiber to even develop some other networks within the city of Corry or the outside area through some new technology that's being developed. So obviously that's not been tested out, but people are looking at us as they see our plan and are considering us potential partners in the future for things that are coming down, because I know one of our big concerns is with technology, we want to make sure that we are in a position as we do all this, that we're able to build off of it. With things developing and changing so fast, we don't want to put this work in this investment and then 2 or 3 years be in a position where this is obsolete technology. So I think we're setting ourselves up to be, number one, open up the connectivity throughout our region, but also to be prepared as things develop that we may be able to leverage into other opportunities as well. So I don't know, Chuck, if there's anything else you'd like to add.
No, that's it.
I took good notes at our meetings.
I do want to give a shout out to Garrett, who has made the first part of our video, and he took on the most daunting task of explaining why fiber better, without being negative about the others. And I've been starting to show it around, and people get it and they love it, and it's pretty high concept stuff. And he did an amazing job with the video. He's a star.
He has a great voice for narration. It was excellent.
I thought I was listening to NPR. Kim, do you want to do green spaces?
Sure. Good morning. So I've sent something written out to Chelsea, and so she'll send it to everybody so that you guys have it. But as Chuck said, we initially started thinking we were going to work on the rail to trail park. But because of funding and the things that we needed to do, we decided to basically work on that, but have our focus be on the trails. So we have formed a joint team with City Center to help on the Rail to Trail Park. We've identified a half mile of the Paper Street Trail going from Route 6 to Elk Street. We're calling Phase 1A. That is our initial target, and that is what we are presenting to the city. And we want to prepare the April 14th, the DCNR grant application for. The grant application requires that the city own the property and all the properties be contiguous. That's why we're kind of stopping at that piece, because the city already owns all of that. We are working with the city, with Blue Zones and the community on the actual design of the trail. We are going to reach out for more community input to try to see, at least at an initial level, what they want out of their trails. So as we are designing these things, we get that right. And ideally, we're going to have not only that Paper Street, but then 2 spurs that go off of that trail over to Mead Park. So that'll be our first ask that we're going for. Because we're dealing with grant applications and things, there's a lot of checklists that need to be involved. So we've actually expanded our team to try to help us. We would ask Ron Steffi, who is a trail expert. He's helped a lot with the East Branch Trail. He's helping us get things together to help pay for, he's actually a consultant, so to help pay for some of that. We've written a peer-to-peer grant to get funding for him. And again, we'll present that to the city, and if everything's okay, we'll go ahead and put that in. One of the things that we looked at when we were looking at the overall Paper Street Trail is obviously the city owns many of the properties, but not all of the properties. And so Chelsea did some good work in talking with the city. There is no currently form method, if you will, of donating properties. And so we've developed something that we hope will be acceptable to the city that we can use with residents. Should we be able to convince them to actually donate the properties, to the city. And we've prepared a presentation that we will present to the city tomorrow night. And the things that we're asking the city to approve are the use of the half-mile property from Route 6 to Elk Street, the approval to apply for the DCNR grant, on behalf of the city, in a public-private, partnership, approval to apply for the peer-to-peer grant. The city will accept donations of future properties, and we're going to request the city that if any costs arise from that donation, that the city cover that so that the residents don't actually have to pay. And then any city guidance on the trail designs, we're looking to not only deliver what the residents and people are looking for, but we want to limit any liability, increase public safety, and make sure that the maintenance is something that we can afford, going forward. And to that extent, we'll see if there's any contributions that the city can make as far as man hours, as far as mowing or anything like that. So our Phase 1A approach is our cost estimate right now is a little bit over $1 million. And so obviously one of the things that we're doing is trying to do all the activities to prepare for the grant application, but then identify, the matching funds that are required even for that application. And then the other thing that we did this month is we actually, walked with Les, and we mapped a trail around North Hills, which is a really, I think it could be a really, really nice trail, and it might tie in with, some of the things that the balance sheet people are working on for North Hills. I think it could drive a lot of people out there, to use the trails and things. We have a lot of activities that are critical for our timeline to be able to hit submission by April 14th. We've got, once we get approval from the city, we also have to get approval from the county. And so we will be reaching out to all of those various areas, as well as trying to get our design work done. So Chuck, Chelsea, Ashley, any other comments that you guys want to add?
Maybe the Hiram Hill Trail Edition, or whatever we're going to end up calling it.
What was the question?
Oh, the Hiram Hill Trail Edition concept.
Sure. One of the things that is on our task list to look at this month is how are we going to do maintenance? And so one of the things that we are looking for is kind of adopt a trail, like you see, like adopt highways, that the local residents, a lot of them right now are actually already mowing and maintaining the trails. So if we can get them to continue doing that, then that would take that off of somebody else. But as Chuck's saying, we're also looking at doing a Hiram and Hill Trails group that would do maintenance, maybe mowing where needed, some brush removal, et cetera. Just kind of monitoring the trails. We're also, depending on what the community comes back with, right now our intention is that these trails would be multimodal and ADA compliant. So depending on what the city and the community come back with, that they want those trails to be used, there might be other groups that would help us maintain certain trails like the snow blazers and things. So we're trying to keep all of our options on the table, but we really want to speak with the city tomorrow night and kind of, make sure that if there's any guidelines that we need to stay within as we're designing the trails, that we do that.
Okay. You're stuck with need for housing in neighborhoods for this month. We hope to have a champion of that team do it next month.
Here, I can do it, Chuck, if you
Sure.
like. I can run
Yes.
through.
All right, Brad Allen.
If you just pepper in where I missed stuff. So we had the core, all the properties, all the houses in the core surveyed, and we have an inventory of all those properties, including pictures. And we had a consistent grading of the properties done by a neutral independent party. And so that is a huge amount of data that will help us moving forward. We're going to focus on the Renaissance Block Grant. We'll focus on houses that we can assist homeowners with trying to improve their housing. And so when the Renaissance Block Grant, the funding comes around, we'll be ready for that to continue to expand that. We're working with Corey Neighborhood Initiative and code compliance on the blighted, the most distressed houses in the core, and actually have a lot of effort in that arena. We really have a lot of mini projects going on as well. So we're working on a program called Corey Pride Certified. You've heard Chuck talk about this. It's for homeowners and landlords, and giving them some kind of recognition for the presence of their structures in their homes and their dwellings and so forth, kind of a taking pride in your property. Eventually we're working on the Paint the Town that you've heard about in the past, and that's kind of been put on hold for now, but that is on our docket. So Chuck, who's working on the forgivable loan product? That's Melissa Martin.
Melissa Martin.
Yeah. So working on a product where they could potentially develop a loan for homeowners to work on their structure and potentially get forgiveness on those loans, or at least assistance on repaying. We're working potentially with Erie Insurance on an insurance product that can help guarantee somebody, if they purchase a home for $50,000 and they invest $50,000 after a 10-year period, that they could get their investment back. And there's nothing out on the market like that. Chuck has actually met with the chairman of the board of Erie Insurance, Mr. Hagan, and he's very interested in it. And that's coming down the road. Ben Spagan from Jefferson Society is helping us work on some potential national legislation that's pending out there to help with homeowners for low to middle income, should that pass, but that's really out of our hands right now. What else, Chuck? What did I miss?
CNI showing up for potentially doing an acquisition distribution on using their expertise on buying properties, remediating properties. So as we would raise funds to do that, we would give them to CNI to, under their mission, get that work done. Also, it sounds like a lot of projects, and it is, but this team has chosen to, each champion is championing one cause. So they're all going full throttle. I know Brad Russell is a code, I'm gonna get it wrong. Brad, what's his, it's like a report. Scorecard. He's working with Chief Lathrop about that, about getting that adopted. He's been working with the city tight on all of that, and he's just charging forward. So even though we say all these different things, there's depth to it too, which I'm really impressed with. And Christy brought to the table the list that Brad spoke about that identifies the 1,000+ houses in the core. We are going to assess those, you know, what land bank looks like land bank is, what looks like a CNI property. And that will help us focus and literally say, okay, these are the properties we're hitting first. Here's our order. Now that we have these programs, what's the best program for the bulk that we have? So if everything looks like a Renaissance block thing, we'll push all our energy there. If everything looks like a painted town or if it's a split. So I thought that was a brilliant idea, and that they're chewing it up.
The other one is the bring our kids home, or what do you call it, Chuck? I forget.
I don't think we have a Corey Promise was something in that vein as well. Go ahead, Brad.
Yeah, one that I am maybe most excited about that I forgot. So that shows you my excitement. But it's coming down the road. We're not actively working on it yet, but many of you in the room have heard this concept before, but trying to reach out to, kids who, or people, adults who grew up in Corey, may have moved away, now they're in their 30s or whatever, and we're trying to work to help them come back to Corey if they so choose, and help them with housing and really from an economic standpoint, some career opportunities, and working with CIDC and Aaron and Rick to try to match them up with some career potential ideas. And so I know that Corey Community Foundation has talked about that in the past, and when the time's right, I think that will be a great initiative. And I always give, Scott Fogel as an example, myself as an example. I didn't grow up in Corey, but Northeast, and I want to come back to home area, or JT Caldwell, or, grew up, went to college, moved away, made their mark, got some experience under our belt, and then wants to come back to Corey to, start a family, or parents are getting older or whatever. And I'm really excited about the potential of that.
And that project actually will likely connect into the city center project. So whatever we call this thing, whether someone wants to come back and need support getting their business started, or needs support with housing. So it's a flexible tool that adapts to the people that want to come and be here, and we can help them in both spheres.
Yeah, I like that idea a lot. I've always said, Bill and Andy working at the school, there's so many great kids that come out of here. Like, there really is. It would just be neat if, I feel like it's automatic that they don't even consider staying here. Like, it's like they know they're just going to go somewhere else. So it'd be really cool if, like, they considered staying in Corey and making their living with family here. So I like that.
Yeah, really, again, not to beat it up, but so like JT Caldwell is a perfect example. He went to Dayton College. He got into the lumber industry. He moved away. He lived in Charlotte for 7 or 8 years. And, when he was time to settle down and whatever, he chose to come back to Corey, and has been a huge contributor to the community, and his family's very active. Scott, again, same thing, moved away, spread his wings, got a lot of good experience, and said, you know what, Corey wasn't such a bad place after all. When, you know, you're a teenager, you can't wait to get out of town. But then when you grow up a little bit, you're like, you know, Corey does have a lot of good things to offer. And hopefully, again, in time, we'll have even more things to offer.
And I feel like that, not to again drag this out, but just in speaking with, you know, Rick and I, you know, in our day to day, there's been some conversations with folks who, like, they're in their 30s now, but they've noticed what's going on in Corey. They think it's really positive and they want to be a part of it. Whereas 10 years ago, they're like, no, we're getting out of here. There's no way we're staying here. So I think that's starting to catch some fire. So
Thank you, Brad.